Before I get into today's video, I want to start off by saying if anyone ever has a topic that they want me to go over, feel free to leave that in the comments or to post in the group or even private message me if you don't want to do it publicly. Also, this week I will be doing a giveaway of my book, Stupid Girl from Pain to Purpose. In this book, I go over my story, and then I talk about the 8 most common narcissistic personality types in detail. I also go over the tactics abusers use to keep you stuck in the relationship and how to break free from them and self-heal at home. If you're interested in being put in the drawing, just let me know in the comments and I'll add your name. I also want to apologize now if there's any background noise in this video. Anytime school is out, there's always a house full of kids here. That's why I don't post videos as often when school's not in. It's usually pretty loud in my house. So now for today's video. In today's video, I'm going to go over what does it mean to be a scapegoat? What are the signs that you are a scapegoat? What effects do being a scapegoat have on your mental health? And how to break free and heal from being in this role. So to start off, what does it mean to be a scapegoat? Scapegoating is blaming a person or a group of people for a problem or something that's happened without any real evidence proving that it was them. Now I'm going to go over with you some of the signs that you may have been a scapegoat. You were the designated punching bag. You are or you were always unfairly blamed. You were ignored. You were not praised or acknowledged. You took most of the emotional abuse in your family. You were put down or portrayed in a negative way to others. You were overly apologetic. You can be a people pleaser. They take their problems out on you. They expect you to fix their problems. They ignore the pain and suffering they are causing you. The abuse can go beyond home, meaning now you can become the scapegoat in your intimate relationships with your partners, or you can be the scapegoat in your friend group. You are the butt of all your family's jokes. They always make you feel like you need to change. They can make fun of your appearance or insult you over your weight. They use sarcastic little digs to get at you. They constantly nag you, leaving you feeling like nothing you do is right or good enough. They gaslight you. They neglect your emotional needs. They isolate you. Now that you are aware of what being a scapegoat looks like, let's now talk about what got you put in this role to begin with. There are many reasons the narcissist could have put you in this role, but I'm going to go over the ones that I most commonly deal with in my office. To start off, you are different from the rest of your family. You don't conform, comply, or fit in. You may have different beliefs, learning disabilities. You could be gay, bi, or homosexual, and your family disapproves, but something about you is different. Another reason you could have been scapegoated is because the parent, for whatever reason, is jealous of you or something that you have. There is a need for control and they could view you as the weak one. Another reason is you could be adopted or the stepchild. You could also be a diversion. They feel making you the problem. It takes the focus off the real problems in the family. You are the empath or the sensitive one. You may be the one in the family that figures out the parents as narcissist and you try to bring awareness to this. You could have been a victim of sexual abuse within the family. The reason this is an issue is because when sexual abuse takes place in the family, typically in narcissistic homes, they protect their abusers over their victims. You could also look like the father or the mother that the other parent is no longer with, or the parent has resentment toward, and you remind them of them. You may have done things that the parent considers embarrassing, such as getting in trouble at school. Whatever the reason is for them putting you in this role, it was not fair, and you did not deserve it. Being put into a scapegoat role is a very shitty role because you reap the consequences of actions that were never yours. You spend most of your life feeling like you are not enough, and you try to conform and to fit into this little box that the narcissistic parent has created for you. But what you don't realize as a child is that no matter how hard you try to conform or to fit in, it will never be enough. You will never live up to the narcissist expectations because it's really not about you at all. I have had clients tell me that they had parents withhold food from them. I've had other clients tell me of how the parent did feed them, but only after the parent themselves and the other siblings ate first. A lot of times in the scapegoat role, the parents will even allow the other siblings to abuse the scapegoat child as well, whether that be emotionally or physically. If you grew up in a home where there was sexual abuse, quite often you'll see the scapegoat child is sexually abused, but the golden child was never messed with. You'll also notice that when you have a scapegoat child and the golden child, these parents turn them against each other. Typically, the relationships aren't very deep. You see a lot of triangulation. There's a lot of jealousy and competition as well among siblings. It always really bothers me when I'm working with the scapegoat child, but mainly for two reasons. First, because as children, we so desperately want our parents' love and approval. When we don't get that, we automatically internalize it, feeling like there is something wrong with us. And it would be impossible to believe that they were the problem because they're not going to allow you to think that way. They convince you that you're the problem. And not only are they convincing you, they're convincing themselves and everyone else around you that you're the problem. And they do this intentionally so they don't have to take any responsibility for their own lives, their own problems, the fact that they're failing as a parent. And the only way they will acknowledge this is if they are using being a bad parent as a way to guilt you or to get pity from you. Now let's go over some of the ways that being a scapegoat affects your mental health in adulthood. As I'd mentioned previously, you may notice now that you are a people pleaser, or that you may be the scapegoat in relationships outside the home, such as now with your intimate partner or your friendships. You could be very insecure. You could have self sabotaging behaviors. You could have self harming behaviors. You could have low self esteem. You can have anxiety, depression, PTSD. It is highly likely that you are now codependent, trying to manage other people's feelings and emotions by trying to deny your own, because you're worried that if you speak too much about how you feel to your partner, they may leave. So you pretend to be fine. Or you could notice that you have a lot of conflict or drama in your own life now. So, if you believe that you were the scapegoat child and you notice that you have many of these issues that we just went over, what can you do about it? The first thing you can do is write out affirmations and put them on the mirror. I suggest starting out with just 3. So, you could say, I'm enough, I'm worthy and deserving of love, I love myself. But pick 3 that you feel like really resonate with you. You're probably not going to believe them at first, but with repetition over time, you will begin to believe these. The reason this is important is because you have had this parent or caregiver hardwire certain beliefs about yourself into your brain. And it's going to be very important now that you rewire those beliefs and those thoughts about yourself. The second thing that's going to be very important for you to do is to either go low contact, no contact, or set very strong, healthy boundaries with the parent that is scapegoating you. Now, when you set boundaries with a narcissist, I will say they are not going to stick to these boundaries. So, what you can do is, let's say you tell the parent, I don't like it when you get on the phone with me and you're critical of me. If you continue to do so, I will hang up on you and I will not answer when you call me back. So you've set the boundary. You've let them know this is not what I'm going to tolerate on the phone with you. When they do it anyway, you've already let them know this is the consequence. I will be hanging up on you and I will not take your call when you call me back. It is going to be very important that you stick to the boundary and the consequence to protect yourself. The next thing you can do is stop gaslighting yourself and telling yourself it's not that bad. It wasn't that big of a deal. If you gaslight yourself and you minimize your trauma, you are not going to be able to heal from the things that you are not willing to look at. Self love can be very difficult for those of us that were taught we were not lovable. So I recommend that if you have the money, you could take yourself out to eat one day, or you could buy an outfit that you've been wanting. Do something nice to yourself. If you don't have the financial means to go out to eat or to buy yourself a gift, do something at home that makes you happy. When I can fit in the time, I really enjoy watching a movie cuddled up by myself and drinking hot cocoa. So that's something nice I do for me. So find something that you enjoy, a hot bath or whatever, and do that for yourself and make time to do those things regularly. Another thing you can do is when you make mistakes, watch how you speak to yourself. So let's say you drop a dish and you break it. You don't want to say things like, man, I'm always messing up or I'm always damaging things. A lot of times when we make mistakes, we will literally hear the parent's voice in our head. I can never have nothing. I can't believe you broke that. And then we'll repeat that without even being aware that that's them talking to us. So you really want to begin to watch yourself talk as well and be more compassionate to yourself. Another thing you can do is take time to figure out who you are and what you like. If you were a child that constantly tiptoed around because of this parent, you may have denied your own wants and your own needs because of this parent. So take time to figure out what you enjoy and what you don't. The next thing, and this is very important as well, is take accountability for your actions. Start to notice how you're treating other people and how you're speaking to them, or if you're scapegoating one of your own children, and become aware of that because you can't fix something you're not willing to look at. And when you were raised in a home with a narcissistic parent, and you were the scapegoat child. Again, a lot of these behaviors and these traits are hardwired into your brain now. So you've got to become aware of what you're doing to others so you can fix those as well. And the last thing I suggest is seek out a therapist or a life coach if you have a lot of trauma that you still need to work through and overcome from being the scapegoated child. While being the scapegoated child was a really difficult role, I will say that most of my clients, and including myself, went on to live pretty healthy, happy lives and overcame being a scapegoat. The scapegoated children tend to be the whistleblowers in the family, the strong ones in the family, and they do typically go on to heal their trauma and go low contact or no contact with their abusers. The scapegoat child typically tears away from the dysfunctional family altogether, breaking generational curses and going on to have a healthy family themselves. And while growing up as a scapegoated child, you may have felt very weak, but you'll notice the more work you put in, and as you begin to step out of this role and heal from it, how empowered and strong you truly are.